Hey friend, welcome back to the Fit as Flock podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Bush, and let's dive right in. Today, I want to talk about the new year. Can we just get it out of the way? And can I just share with you that I really strongly dislike the whole new year hype with a passion. I haven't always felt this way, but now that I have two young, very active kids, that have spent the last 2 weeks at home over the holidays, I've decided that I don't like this. I don't like the way that I feel as a result. If you are a mom, you probably spent the last month feeling incredibly stressed and overwhelmed, and you probably still feel that way as you ease back into what was your normal routine. You so badly want to feel this like breath of fresh air that everybody's talking about, like new year, new me or whatever. And like, certainly I have set goals and intentions for 2023. I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't share that, but the hype, I don't like it. If you follow me on social media and you saw like I didn't really post anything, it's because I'm like, I'm not going to make these women feel worse than they already do, or at least that's how I was feeling. I was seeing these posts and like, yes, I resonate a lot with the motivating, inspiring place that people share from, and I love it, but I personally was struggling to feel like, oh yay, let's go attack these new goals, when really I feel like for the last month, I have been the ringmaster of a 3-ring circus, and I just stepped out of it and I'm like, where am I? Who am I? What do I do? Who goes where? I just cannot deal. So today, I shared with my clients kind of some of my own personal struggles, and I want to share with you today as well, because it really resonated, because a lot of people are feeling the same way. So all of that to say, if you entered 2023 feeling like I just described, or you feel behind the 8 ball, I just want you to know that you're not behind. It is not too late. You have plenty of time, and you're right where you need to be. So if you find yourself looking in the mirror saying, girl, what have you done? If you've done some damage over the holidays, or if you've done some damage over the last couple of years and you want to address it from like a weight loss perspective, know that you have time. So let's talk about how we can best handle that. I want to tell you a little story about what I shared today, because I think it will help put some perspective around all of this. So today when I got on the scale, this is what I shared with my clients. Today when I got on the scale, the number was the highest I've seen over the last 12 months. It was a gut punch. I haven't been doing anything too crazy either. I think what has really added up for me was becoming too lax with snacks, treats, and bites. It goes to show that it can really have an impact. I am praying that some of my gain is artificial, because I'm extremely sore today from filming a workout. But I know not all of it is. I'm choosing to look at this as empowering versus defeating. I have created awareness by getting on the scale, and now have the power and knowledge to make the necessary tweaks before it gets further out of hand, and those tweaks have to become much more extreme changes. All of that to say, you are not alone. I struggle too, and that's why we call this a journey. It's never ending. And this is a stark reminder that not every weekend can be treated like a celebration or a holiday. Think about where we would be if that's how we act going forward. So I had a little personal gut punch this morning, and it wasn't all that fun. Obviously, this is what I do for a living. I know all of the things, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm a human being. I'm a mom. I'm a wife, and I have a lot of other outside pressures other than staying in this perfect little box, right? Because life's never gonna give us this perfect little box to stay in, and frankly, we shouldn't want it to, right? That would be super boring. But let's talk about why this happens. So why does this happen? Why do these things happen where we go off track, or maybe you were doing really well, or you had weight loss success before, and then you've reverted back, or you've put some weight back on? Life. Right? Something happens typically that gets someone out of their normal routine, and it can be like a snowball rolling downhill. So whether that's a vacation, or the holidays that we just had, or summer breaks that are eventually going to be here, things like that. Those are the times that tend to it's kind of the fire starter for it, like lights the flame and then it grows, right, in intensity and becomes a much bigger, brighter problem. So this is a great opportunity, if you're not where you want to be, to take a step back before you do anything else and really examine your behaviors. What self-destructive, self-sabotaging behaviors do you engage in when things get crazy, stressful, call it whatever you want to call it? Personally, I start wasting time. I waste time by scrolling and by online shopping. And then I begin to get too relaxed about treats and bites throughout the day. Those are kind of my areas of struggle. Obviously, none of those behaviors serve me in any way. Oftentimes I feel stressed because I feel like I don't have enough time in the day to get done everything that I need and want to get done. Okay, then why are you wasting that precious time scrolling? It doesn't make any sense. Snacking mindlessly, we all know how that ends over time. So these don't serve me. But the first step to being able to address them is creating awareness around them. So how should we feel about it? First and foremost, if you're feeling any of these feelings that I just described, or you can look at yourself and you can say, oh, I've really been struggling with just eating too much sugar because there's been too many treats, or I've really overindulged in alcohol just because there's been a lot of social stuff going on. Whatever the case may be for you, you should be proud of yourself for being introspective enough to examine what is happening for you and how you are personally holding yourself back. So I'm holding myself back by engaging in those self-destructive behaviors that ultimately don't support where I desire to be. So I hope that you can take that feeling of being proud of yourself and allow yourself to then feel empowered, because now you have this level of awareness and we all have the tools and resources to do something about it. Or if you don't feel like you have the tools or the resources or the knowledge to do something about it, you can find someone who does, right? So if you're like, I need help with weight loss or whatever, there's tons of people out there, myself included, that can help you. If you're like, I can't spend money on that right now, whatever the case may be, there is a whole wealth of information on the internet. And we'll talk about, it's obviously there's a lot out there, and there you can get mixed messaging and all of that, but there are resources available to address whatever it is you desire to change, right? We're not just like out on this island by ourselves, secluded with no resources or places to turn and look and seek out help. So what do? We've examined the behaviors. We feel like, okay, we want to make some changes. Now what? We start really, really small to build momentum. So often I have clients that come into my program and they're like, yes, they're macro tracking and they're intermittent fasting and they're doing all the workouts and all the things. And then something happens and it just dwindles off, right? Well, I'll tell you what happens. By about 3 weeks in, the newness wears off. And it's not this bright and shiny app, group, program that it was in your mind when you signed up, because it's hard, right? You're making behavioral changes and the newness wears off. It's not as exciting anymore. So you have to think of momentum like this. You are trying to push a car that has broken down and stopped. Okay, so imagine that. It's hard and it sucks at first. It sucks. Like if it sucks, you're doing it right. But what happens once we get that car going, when you're pushing it and you get it going, it's going. It's easy to push it now because it has built momentum. It's much easier to propel forward. So then what after that? Well, once you get the momentum going, then you can begin to layer on more complicated strategies that are going to help you get to your goal. And once you gain momentum, it becomes much harder to stop. So if you're pushing this car and it's gaining momentum, if you then jumped out in front of it and tried to stop it, it's going to be much more difficult to stop it because there is momentum there. And when I say what you do consistently matters a whole lot more than what you do occasionally, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Once you build that momentum, it becomes this this animal of its own. It takes on its own life force where it just kind of becomes part of what you do. And so, when I go on vacation and I still get up early and work out, it's not because it's not fear-based, it's because that's just what I do. And I've built that momentum, I've built that consistency. And so it just goes everywhere with me. So I share all of this with you as a reminder that starting sucks, okay? It's hard. And if it feels hard, you're doing it right. But try to remember that you are building momentum in the process, and it does get easier. So I say that to whatever your overarching goals are or things that you're trying to work on. Now, if we're talking about weight loss specifically, I want you to realize that the best thing that you can do to start is to address a few small changes at a time. And that's gonna look different for every single person. So I'm just gonna give you a real life example of myself. So my behaviors are not crazy. I've gained a couple of pounds, so pretty minimal, but I wanna get a handle on it now before it goes further. I gain weight very easily, so I'm ready to get a handle on it. So today, what did I do? I started out by going, all right, you are not going to take any bites off of your kids' food when you're making it. You're just not, okay? That's the only thing I'm focused on right now, is not doing that. Because one, that has snuck up on me. Not only with the kids' food, but then like also when I'm like cooking and moving throughout the kitchen and things like that, is taking those like random bites. And two, that taking the random bites off the kids' plate is a bad habit that I've had for a really long time. And it's now rearing its ugly head and starting to impact me and my goals. So now's a really good time to shine a light on it. And I am going to tell you, and you may be going like, this chick is crazy. Like, what is wrong with her? But it took a lot of mental gymnastics this morning for me not to taste my daughter's protein pancakes with her little sprinkles. Mommy just needs to make sure that's not too hot. Because the thing is one bite turns into two turns into three, et cetera, et cetera. You see where this story is going. And for me, it doesn't tend to stop there. Like, it starts there and that's one thing, but then it leads to something else. And it's like, I've already broken the seal, so to speak. And so it took a lot of like mental, okay, you're making breakfast. This is for her. This is not for you. Da, 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 da. Like, I really had to like self-coach myself through that. And so if you are struggling, know that you might have to do that. But if you can get through those first couple weeks of that mental gymnastics that you're gonna have to go through, it gets so much easier and it will become second nature. It will become habitual for me not to do that at some point. It's a deeply ingrained habit, so I have a lot of work to do around it. It's the same thing with getting up early, for example, or starting to work out every day, or tracking your food, or whatever it is you're working on. It's gonna be hard at first. It's going to be hard at first, but once you get that ball rolling, it becomes so much easier. And let's talk about how motivation works, right? So most people think it's motivation leads to action, which leads to results. Well, the way that it really works is action leads to results, which leads to motivation. So think about that. If you take action by by putting that car in motion, by gaining momentum, you're gonna start to see some results within a couple of weeks. You gotta give it more than 2 weeks. You gotta hang in there. And then that's gonna be motivating for you to keep going or to take it to the next level. So I say all of this with this whole new year energy, that if you're feeling like me, like you just stepped out of like, I don't know, a horror movie, I'm kidding, but it's been crazy. It's not too late. You're not behind. And I want you to remember that no change or no progress is too small. So start small. Don't try to do it all, because remember, this is a marathon, right? I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been maintaining my weight for well over a year. And even I put on a couple of pounds over the holidays. And so it's never like, oh, once I hit my goal weight, then bam, I'm done and I'm good forever, because I'm living proof that we are constantly a work in progress. Life is constantly throwing us different situations that we're going to have to navigate through. And so it's going to require different pieces of us, and it's going to pull us in different directions. And so where you were able to give something more attention at one time, it might pull away from that. And so then you've got to reassess and readjust. And so let this be your opportunity to reassess and readjust. So remember, don't try to do it all, and start small. I'll catch you on the next one. Love y'all. Bye.